Are you a little Xbox fanboy and can't let go of the past with Halo? Or are you butt buddies with Sony? Or maybe you're actually level-headed and go through life with an open mind and unbiased opinions. Nah, that's probably not you. Or do you basically have no choice and have to follow whatever console your fanboy friends choose? The console wars of 2020 have begun. Alright guys, so we don't really have that much information on the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, but what we can do is analyze what we do have as well as the history of these consoles and kind of predict who might have an advantage for 2020. So before we talk about any of the specs, I am going to point out one huge advantage that Sony has going into the upcoming console wars. And this advantage being that they're going to have a hell of a lot more of fanboys and fangirls, and it makes sense, man. There's always going to be people who are fanboys or girls, and you have the right to be a fanboy. No one is going to stop you. These people will make a decision on what console they are getting before they even know jack shit about said console. Sounds a lot like people in politics these days. Hate a president no matter what he does, even if it's good, or love a president no matter what he does, even if it's bad. Drives me crazy, man. So let's get back to gaming. So guys, fanboys, how many of them are out there? Let's look at the PS4 versus the Xbox One. This information alone gives Sony an advantage in many areas. The PS4 sold around 103 million consoles to date. Damn, that's a lot, but we don't really know if it's a lot until we compare it to its main competitor, the Xbox One. The Xbox One sold 41 million units as of January 2019, and I can't even find an update in sales to find out how much they sold throughout Q4 2019. But guys, Sony sold 2.5 times more PS4s than Microsoft sold Xboxes. 2.5. That's double plus more. PlayStation didn't just win the console wars of 2013, they dominated the entire decade. Now, one of the main reasons Sony was able to do this was because of their $100 price savings over buying an Xbox at launch. Now, of course, you have to include other factors like exclusive games, etc. But really, guys, the $100 price range seemed to really set the 2013 console wars off for a good start for Sony. Xbox and PlayStation, we can argue all day on which system is more powerful, which one will be better in 2020, etc. But the truth of the matter, guys, is that most people won't notice a damn difference. I bet you could have someone play with a SCUF controller on an Xbox, then switch them to PlayStation without them knowing, and most people would have no idea. For the most part, both consoles have similar specs and will have similar specs in 2020 as well. Even if one is more powerful than the other technically, it's usually not noticeable, and half the battle comes down to the game developer's choice when developing the game. Did anyone play Death Stranding on PS4? Well, look at that game and then compare it to the visuals in Black Ops 4. Holy shit, guys. Black Ops 4 looks like it was made in 2007. Death Stranding almost looks like a higher-end PC game. I played both of these games on my regular PS4, and it's just crazy the difference. The developers are a huge factor in how good a game runs and looks. Most developers have plenty to work with on whatever system they choose, besides Nintendo, of course, because Nintendo has limitations due to its size, etc. But Nintendo is its own beast, not really part of the main console wars. So why does Sony have an advantage over Microsoft in 2020? Well, because they sold more than double the amounts of units sold over the lifetime of the current gen consoles, many people, millions of people have become accustomed to the PlayStation system. These people will not change systems for the next gen. They love PlayStation, had a good experience, and feel safe in their choice to just go with the PS5 in 2020 instead of risking any change by going to the Xbox, even if it's virtually the same system specs-wise. So for example, say that 10 million of the 102 million PS4 buyers will be fanboys and go to the PS5 no matter what. Then another 20 to 30 million just enjoyed their PS4 experience, so they'll probably just go with the PS5 because they trust the company and it's a safe choice. We are already at 30 to 40 million almost guaranteed PS5 buyers, which is basically almost the total amount of Xbox One buyers since 2013 to 2020. That's a huge advantage, guys. Now, of course, I just made up those numbers, and 40 million people don't buy any of the consoles in the opening year, but over time, something like I mentioned could very well play out. It's definitely an advantage to Sony, no matter if my number guesses are too much or too little. It's just a fact that there's going to be many people who stay with PlayStation no matter what. The numbers are just too high. Xbox only selling 41 million units is just not going to have the same size pool of Xbox lovers. So like I said, guys, specs are not going to be a huge factor in my opinion, because for the most part, both systems are going to run really good and they're going to be very similar. Both will have SSDs, which will virtually eliminate the loading screens that we know of today. Both will run modern day processors, boosting us console players to PC levels, and both will also run GPUs that are worthy of 2020. Sony and Microsoft are both billion-dollar companies. They have the resources and money to ensure that they get good shit in their consoles. I would be very, very surprised if one console truly overpowered another to where it was noticeable. So with all that said, guys, it makes me wonder what Microsoft might have up their sleeves to overcome their disadvantage. Knowing that PlayStation has absolutely dominated the previous 7 years should make them realize that they really have to stand out this time around and do something truly amazing to be successful. So I am very interested in seeing how Microsoft handles the Series X. Maybe they got some absolutely insane games coming out for it, or maybe they will forget about making a profit and lower their prices just to get buyers. That's highly unlikely though. I don't really know, but I am excited to see what Microsoft does to try to hold their own in 2020. Now, both consoles had some good exclusives, and exclusive games seem to also be a huge driving factor for what console people play. We have yet to get enough information on the next-gen exclusives to really determine who will win that war. But there's also no denying that even if you enjoyed some of the Xbox exclusives, PlayStation killed it again, coming out with more exclusives and many games that people say are some of the best games they have ever played. Bloodborne, Death Stranding, to name a few. Now, exclusives are of course a matter of opinion, but guys, it's just a fact that PlayStation had more exclusives, and they had many more companies that wanted to work with Sony to get out their amazing, well put together games, because Sony had a much larger pool of players for developers to sell their game to. Sony also seemed to take over games like COD and Destiny and many other games, allowing PlayStation players to get content early, etc. And like I said, the exclusives and advantages of playing PlayStation are undoubtedly due to companies wanting to work with the console that sold more units. And even though 2020 has not happened, Sony has established good relationships with many of these companies. Now, Xbox developers are just as good as PlayStation developers overall in terms of things. Just more companies seem to want to work with Sony. I probably sound like a PS fanboy to some of you guys, but guys, really, I'm not. I've played a lot more Xbox than I have PlayStation in my life, but the facts just say it all. Sony has destroyed Microsoft with their console in the past 7 years, and it's definitely going to give them an advantage in late 2020. Knowing that they know they got destroyed the past 7 years, maybe they needed that to force them to work harder and come up with something absolutely stunning with the Xbox Series X. Now I'm going to throw out another little advantage that Sony seems to have with the PS5. PlayStation is a standalone console. There's no PC that goes with a PlayStation. Xbox and PC are very strongly connected with Microsoft. Oftentimes you can buy a game on both Xbox and PC, only needing one or the other. Now, if you want to play a PlayStation exclusive game, you have to own a PlayStation. So if you have a group of PC gamers who want to buy a console, why would they buy an Xbox when they can play virtually almost all of the same games on their PC? If they buy a PlayStation, they can finally play many games that they have not been able to before. Just a little something to point out. But guys, yeah, all of this is speculation. Who really knows what will happen in 2020? I do feel the PS5 has a big advantage, but it doesn't mean that Xbox can't make a turnaround and change the industry up. Microsoft is very powerful. Will they unleash their wrath on Sony this time? I don't know, man, but I love a good competition. It's really good for us consumers. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I do all sorts of videos on this channel. Comedy videos, game reviews, live streams, tutorials. So hit that sub button. I'm sure there's something that you will enjoy. Let me know what you guys think about the console war of 2020. Obviously, we don't have that much information, but do you guys think that Sony has an advantage? Let me know below. I'll see you guys on the next one. Everybody really wanna get